calls, no messages. Nothing but junk mail and overdue bills to keep me company. Seems nobody wants to hire a real private dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
All right, folks, good afternoon and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Don't forget the station does broadcast or stream to the TuneIn app 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, like thousands of other radio stations do. And that's a great feature because it means that you can take us anywhere. I love the TuneIn app on that. And of course, you can listen to any show minutes after it gets done on the air. At WCRNradio.com, we have a replay link there, and you can download an MP3 file of it if you want to listen to it later off of line. Tell Alexa to play WCRN. She'll do that, no questions asked. Now, I do stream the show to the station's Facebook page and YouTube channel, as well as my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. So it'd be Twitch TV, X, Facebook, LinkedIn profile, and we do stream live to a Rumble. So multiple ways to listen, multiple ways to watch the show as well. And we are turned into a podcast when I get off the air, so you can subscribe to the show as a podcast wherever you get your podcasts. So that could be iHeartRadio, Spotify, Google Play, whatever it is. Feel free to do that. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. You can do that for the next hour. Today, Behind the Glass, flying the board back at HQ. Our text line, 617-297-8388, up and running. You can text us like you would anyone else. It appears on the screen here in the studio in real time. So this Guthrie thing, this 84-year-old, the mother of the morning show host there, obviously occupying. Donald Trump made a call to her. There's a presser supposed to happen any moment now with the latest on this, but they're having federal assistance, FBI, and so forth. I'm trying to figure out what the motivation is. Something's fishy there. What say you on this? 508-871-7000. I don't know what to take from some of these reports about the cameras, the Ring camera disabled, multiple other cameras on the property. They're very big. It's a very nice neighborhood, right? They don't allow street lights. They don't allow light pollution. People pay a lot of money for the night sky view there, things of that nature. It's to me, there's some hallmark signatures here of someone inside job, and I only mean this. I'm not saying the sister or anything, but somebody familiar with the home. And this, you wonder, okay, did they know who they were taking? Because if you take a high-profile person versus a low-profile person or unknown person, you're dealing. Look at this. Look at the pressure that there is, the coverage that is happening now, because it's the mother of an anchor on a major network morning show. So the stakes are higher. Punishment's probably going to be higher too, if and when they're caught. Is it pure cash? Right now, they're sending ransom notes, not to the family, but allegedly over here to TMZ in a local station in the area. So what say you? Reserving some comments, like I said, just the initial telltale signs, sounds like they were very familiar with the house, the routine, who is who and what was going on. But that's a bold move to take the mother of such a high-profile person. And is this about money or what? I don't know, man. What is this? We'll see what the presser has and what it comes out a little bit later. So the president had the National Prayer Breakfast earlier today, saying a lot of signs that religion is coming back. And that's interesting comment. We've kind of talked about that and made reference because we're seeing in the younger people now, in their 20s, maybe even in the teens, but in their 20s, the conservative movement has a lot of momentum with younger people today. Have you noticed this? We're seeing this, and whether it's the Charlie Kirk effect, right, or rebellion could be a part of this. If your parents became a little leftist and liberal, maybe part of that is going opposite. I don't know if that's as much as it's just maybe the Kirk factor to this, and common sense playing a role, but also the religion. We're having marriages drop, birth rate dropped. We have a lot of guys in their 20s that don't have any interest in getting married. I'm pulling this from survey after survey, right? They're not hugely interested in being married. So you have to ask the question, why? And it seems the common thread in these surveys that they're doing is guys are looking for a little different than the women that seem to be available to them. Maybe they're a little old-fashioned, or you have a criticism on that, but it is what it is. At the same time, a lot of people are finding their way back to churches. We saw a huge uptick in church attendance after Charlie Kirk's assassination. So I think it's reasonable for the president to say religion is hot again. Religion's back. A lot of people are looking forward to this, or looking forward, I guess, or looking towards religion in their lives. I mean, the Charlie Kirk thing is very much about the Bible, very much about the nuclear family. He would say it all the time. Get married as soon as you can. Doesn't matter if you can afford it. You'll work it out. You'll figure it out. Have babies. Get married. Find your person. Have those children and go forward. So the interesting thing is, because I decided to say, what is this? What is the prayer breakfast? So the prayer breakfast actually origins go back to the 1930s, and it was a Methodist minister, Abraham Verdi, who organized groups among Seattle's business and civic leaders back then. But he relocated to the nation's capital, and Verdi formed similar groups with members of Congress. But it wasn't until 1953 that Eisenhower became the first president to attend one of these prayer breakfasts. And that's where tradition got born out of. So that's where this comes from. And presidents have participated in it. Some have skipped it, but pretty much as a regular basis since then. Trump, he would love a Nobel Peace Prize. He's gotten other peace prizes. Some, the people, countries have made up just to be able to give it to him. And I think it bothers him. I mean, he takes a shot, right, whenever he can at them about this. All right, the other thing, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. It's Thursday, so it's kind of open in the sense it's my version of my Friday in a way. So lines are open, and whatever you want to talk about is good to go here on a Thursday. Tomorrow, the boys will be in. The Carr brothers will come in with the auto show in my normal time at 1 o'clock. And I do believe I'll be sitting in for Mike Wade again this Saturday. Confirm with Mike, but I think he's still out of state. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Mark is waiting patiently. Hey, Mark, good afternoon. What say you?
Good afternoon. Have you heard about this Samantha Guthrie and the disappearance of her mother?
Yeah, just what I was talking about, yeah.
It's as a PI, man, that must be very interesting story to you. How long has she been missing?
Since Saturday night. It's Sunday. She was taken early Sunday morning. At least that's what the reports are saying, Mark. That's what the news I'm reading about. I think that they're the person, and I say inside the job, but I don't mean family member per se, but I think somebody who is very familiar with the house, the layoff, the camera positions, things like that, has to have been somebody who has been in the house at some point before Saturday.
I noticed that the sheriff, I guess he's supposed to be in charge. Every time I see him on TV, he looks like what they call down south a cat on a hot tin roof. Have you noticed that?
I haven't really paid attention to him, but I know what you mean by that. Yeah, he seems a little jittery.
Yeah, like a cat on a hot tin
Got it.
roof, and he's all over the map, and he's yeah. So how far is her? She lives in Pima County, Arizona.
Mhm.
I hear that the compound. Have you seen an aerial view of where she lives? Holy mackerel! It's like a compound.
Yeah, it's a very
And,
nice neighborhood. The daughter lives 4.3
Yeah.
miles from the
Yeah.
house, so it's a very short
Yeah,
distance between the daughter and the mother's house.
I also hear that it's only like as the crow flies, 60 miles north of the Mexican border. Have you heard that?
I didn't hear the distance, but I did bring up the other day, Mark, on the show that we don't hear about a lot of the crime on the border states. What I mean by that is the home invasions, the kidnappings. It happens, folks, on a regular basis by these states, the southern border in Mexico with cartels and gangs. It doesn't make national news. Color me surprised. Why doesn't it make national news? But you don't hear about it. But people are
Well,
on a regular
yeah.
basis kidnapped in those states, by the way.
Yeah, and sometimes they're kidnapped by bad people,
Mm-hmm.
all right, who want a ransom, maybe, or maybe they want something else. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's curious to me that the FBI is on the case and the state of Arizona is on the case. That's what he's saying. The guy in a hat on a hot tin roof.
Mm-hmm.
And how many days we talking about? This woman's been gone.
No, since Sunday, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
how many days we talking about? Coming up on a Sunday, a week?
Or it'll be 5 days, basically.
Yeah, and nobody got no definitive answers about
Nope.
her whereabouts after all that time and all those resources about where she is. Well, I know she's still MIA. That's incredible to me.
Yeah, well, she definitely is. Mark, thank you for the call. We're against the clock. I appreciate it. And good topic. The crypto reference, right? They said that the wallet that they're looking for money and so forth is active. If it's ever been used, they can trace that and they can maybe calculate. But who's going to use a used crypto wallet? Obviously, going to get a cold wallet that's fresh. But we got to take our first break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. Stick with us, folks. We'll be back on the other side of the break. 2 minutes, 10 seconds. That will be.
Looking for a station that brings you all sides of the story? Tune in to 50,000 watt powerhouse WCRN, where the left and the right meet in the middle. Whether you lean left, lean right, or just want to stay informed, WCRN has you covered with diverse voices, lively debates, and thought-provoking discussions. From politics and health to pop culture, you'll hear it all right here. Radio Central, where opinions from both sides come together for the conversations that matter. From the center of the dial, the center of New England, and the center of information, AM 830 WCRN, Radio Central.
When it's time to move, don't just move, Mighty Move. At Mighty Movers, they have been helping families relocate safely and affordably since 2017. Whether you're going across town or across state lines, their experienced crew brings muscle and the hustle to make your move stress-free and budget-friendly. They specialize in local and long-distance moves, from cozy apartments to big family homes. They handle it all with care, speed, and professionalism. Got a piano? Gun safe or hot tub? No problem. Their specialty moving services are designed for the heavy stuff most movers just won't touch. So why settle for basic move when you can move mighty? Call 978-793-6165 or visit mightymoversma.com, mightymoversma.com, and start your move the mighty way. Mighty Movers, moving you forward one mighty mile at a time.
Hi, I'm Lee Gaudette of the Gaudette Insurance Agency, a third-generation family business based in Whitensville with branch office locations in Grafton, Shrewsbury, Westboro, and Southborough. We are a full-service independent agency offering all aspects of insurance to businesses, families, and individuals. We are in the peace of mind business. Call, click, or come in to see us at any of our locations for a free assessment of your insurance needs. Also, listen to Radio Central WCRN every Friday morning at 9:30 for the Gaudette Insurance Show.
All right, folks, welcome back here. Second segment on the Thursday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines open and available, kind of our version of Friday, so whatever you'd like to talk about. And just to Mark's point where he was kind of going with this Guthrie kidnapping and the missing of her, yes, there's a lot of these kidnappings that happen that don't make the national news in the border states. And especially now, one of the aspects of the cartels is with fewer migrants at the border because of the Trump's policies and so forth, cartels are receiving fewer what they call floor fees. And the floor fees is which the migrants looking to cross into the states pay to travel through different territories. So if wherever you start out and you get through Mexico, you're stopped by different members of gangs or cartel members. And sometimes what you started out as with a fee for the coyote, you got to add money to it. And as the border crossings continue to decline, some of the cartels are appearing to change tactics by kidnapping civilians for ransoms, including Americans. But the Mexican authorities, they've rescued some Americans, but they're finding people from all over, including Chinese, often beaten and tortured for their families to pay more money. So with fewer crossings, fewer of those floor fees, as they refer to them, of the migrants who are paying their coyotes, which trickles up to the cartels, we could see more of this. So we'll see what happens on that. All right. Prayer breakfast, good. Hey, just actually out today, in case you missed it, Zoran Mondani did today endorse Kathy Hochul for the governor's race in New York. Remember, she endorsed him back and he didn't do it right away. It was kind of backhanded there. But Mondani endorsed Kathy Hochul for re-election, and she does face a primary battle from her second in command, by the way. And he announced the endorsement in an article in The Nation that was in today. This came out, so it just broke. And she's running for this re-election, and yeah, they differ. I mean, he ran as a Democratic socialist. He has acknowledged disagreements with Hochul, but he's saying, hey, Democratic Party has a big tent. I don't see a lot of evidence of that. Democratic Party, as we know, is pretty much you follow the doctrine. You follow. These are the positions that you're okay to have. As a matter of fact, beyond just the positions you're okay to have, this is the verbiage you're allowed to use, right? I just covered this week the stupidity of the kid telling Jennings you can't say illegal alien anymore, which of course you can. And who are you to say that and force your language onto me? But we talked about that. But he says, together we have fought to protect New Yorkers. Get this line. We have fought to protect New Yorkers from ICE. These are elected politicians. And Jerry Nadler referring to ICE as thugs, saying that if they're grabbing you, wouldn't be surprised if you shot them. I mean, basically, you have a sitting member of Congress saying it's okay. It wouldn't be a big surprise if you were to shoot an ICE officer. And why do we tolerate this? I mean, they play to their base. I get that. But that's craziness that they're talking. In the way that they're framing this, ICE is not a group of thugs, and they're not an illegal organization. And the people who tried to compare them to 1930s Germany and Nazis, and you're just totally out there, guys. They have, by statute, a job to perform. So when they say protect you from ICE, here's the thing. Stop blurring the line between migrants and illegal aliens. They are not the same people. There's a difference. So what are you protecting them? You're not protecting the citizens if you are harboring or protecting someone who has either a removal order or another charge, a crime they've committed after coming into the country. Most of us, and most of you listening to me right now, are probably second, third, fourth generation, meaning your grandparents, maybe your parents, grandparents, or certainly great-grandparents probably came here from another country. A few of you might trace it back to Mayflower, or your family lineage came in here a couple hundred years ago. But most of us are only second, third, fourth generation born in the United States. But the ones who have illegally entered the country, that's not the same as the migrant who has traveled here, resettled in the United States, assimilated into society, did it through that long process, an expensive process. So stop trying to equate those. So ICE isn't, or ICE doesn't need, you don't need to be protected from ICE. And if you are an illegal alien with a removal order or a crime that you've committed and ICE is looking for you, shame on the police or members, whether it's locally elected, well, they're all elected locally, but whether you're elected to the state or the federal or even the local city council, whatever it is in your community, shame on you. Because if you, and just, I mean, we've covered the stories, guys, right? The judges who have, we had Shelley Joseph here in Massachusetts. I had the story a couple of weeks ago about the other judge, I think Minnesota, who was found guilty for aiding and abetting. And they should be. That's not your role. It's actually a totally opposite of the oath you swore when you were sworn in as a judge or a mayor or a city councilor or a representative. Now, Mandami alluded to Trump in his administration's, he says, actions against New York. But sometimes the only tool or arrow in the quiver that a president might have is funding. It's been a leverage or a lever that has been used over and over again. I remember as a kid when the whole driving, right, speed limit wanted to come down to 55 on the federal level. So what do they say to states? If you don't lower your driving speed limit to 55, well, we won't give you any federal highway money. There were some holds out, but they all came down to 55 for a long time, and then realized it's not as good as we thought it was going to be. So anyway, the point is, Mandami has in fact endorsed Kathy Hochul. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Lines are open and available. What say you on these issues? So Washington Post did lay off. I know this came up, I think, yesterday's conversation, but laid off 300 employees. That's about a third of the staff at WaPo, right? Washington Post. It's a lot of people. And you got to ask why. Well, look, 300 people shown the door, about a third of the staff. Major coverage areas at the paper are getting chopped down. Sports in its current form. And honestly, I didn't even realize sports was a thing with the Washington Post. Not a big sports reader, but I never heard anybody reference it. I mean, I know the Globe, the sports section years ago, pretty much saved the Globe back in the day. So I don't know if that has a big ripple effect in the sports world. You tell me, guys. So the sports is being cut in its current form. The books section in their flagship Post Reports podcast is shrinking their international footprint. And there's the part matters for the country, right? Not just the newsroom. The Post's own executive editor described this as a broad strategic reset. because it is a crowded media landscape, and the Post has failed to make itself essential to readers and has lost too much money. Well, I was on Globe staff many years ago, and if the Washington Post was running anything like the Globe was in the 90s, say, there were people who had bylines, right, at the Globe who literally hadn't written an article in months, and they were still collecting really nice salaries, because you're not paid for how many times your byline appears. You're on salary, you're on staff. And it was so bloated. The newsroom, I'd walk through the building when it used to be over on Morrissey Boulevard. And they had the press room, which was really a phenomenal thing to go watch, a 3-story press. But the point is, the bullpen or the newsroom at the Globe was massive. Hundreds of reporters on the payroll. And again, you had people collecting, and this is 30 years ago, 80, 90,000 a year just to be a staff reporter and not having a byline for months on end. And the expense account. So when you look at this, and I'm thinking, well, bloated, failed to make money. What was the cost? I'd love to know what the Washington Post sent for what they spent on these international bureaus, travel, food and entertainment. How many reporters do they have to actually have? And if you had old school reporters that were out there and not just, clerks sitting at the desk Googling information and stories and regurgitating stuff off of social media, but actually out there chasing down stories, maybe. The Free Beacon did a story on this, very blunt, by the way, the coverage on it. And they say that the Post went all in, and there's truth to this, right? All in on the anti-Trump editorial posture. We've made reference to this over and over again. All right. And the newsroom ballooned, and then the resistance energy faded, and the revenue dropped, and reality showed up with a calculator, and even steep decline in the audience. They went from 110 million unique monthly users down to 62 million in January this year. They became irrelevant because they were so slanted with this anti-Trump. But we got to take a mid-show break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. We'll be back in 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. It's more of the same cold. We're looking at highs again in the lower 30s today under mostly sunny skies. Tomorrow, a little different. Temperatures kind of similar, upper 20s, but tomorrow we're going to get some increasing clouds, and then we're expecting some light snow on Saturday with a widespread 1 to 2 locally higher totals along the coastline. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Information central to your day from Radio Central, 830 WCRN.
When you're planning your wedding or special event, make sure you and your guests arrive safely and on time. Choose the best. AA Transportation has over 600 vehicles and a team of licensed professional drivers, making them the largest transportation company in Central Mass. AA Transportation delivers world-class service with a personal touch, ensuring the transportation of your wedding or special event goes perfectly. AA Limousine Services can transport wedding parties up to 14 people in our luxurious stretch Cadillac Escalade limos. We provide guest shuttles up to 55 passengers in our activity coaches or buses, so your guests get home safely after celebrating your special day. For custom wedding or event transportation, call AA Limousine Services, 508-791-9100, 508-791-9100. or visit us online at aatransportation.com.
I'm Lee Gaudette from Gaudette Insurance and the Gaudette Insurance Show. You're listening to Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN.
All right, folks, welcome back here. The second half of the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. Today we'll get you into the studio. It is Thursday, which is like my Friday, because the Carr brothers take over my time on Fridays. Great show. Listen to them. So lines are open and available, whatever you'd like to talk about. I got to mention something about this Vogue article on Gavin Newsom. And I'm not sure it achieved what they were hoping it was going to achieve. But here, how you can tell that someone wants the White House, right? The political profiles they start. And this profile starts reading like a perfume commercial. The Vogue write-up practically spotlights Gavin Newsom in a magic hour glow and calls him embarrassingly handsome. And I'm not telling you, that's not building a presidential brand. That's just building a meme. The unintended consequences is brutal. Instead of leader of the largest state, it's a model of the month type of puff piece that they're doing. And voters don't elect the vibe, they elect results. And this kind of glossy hero narrative doesn't help him. It hands his critics a beautiful layup. Selling you an image because the record can't sell itself. And no matter how many puff pieces you do on Gavin Newsom and talk about his hair or how handsome, which I don't see, but some people do, I guess. It doesn't help. It doesn't matter on the debate stage. It doesn't matter when whoever he's up against in those debates or running in a campaign can point to this ridiculous speed train thing, the homelessness and the billion spent there, the drug problems, the fires and the permits, and the fact that Governor U-Haul, this guy, for the first time in the history of a state that's beautiful. I don't know if you've ever been to California. I have been. It is a beautiful state in the sense that the weather is good. They have mountains and oceans. They have mountains that drop into the ocean. It's a wonderful place to live because of where it is, but not a wonderful place to live because of their policies and their politics. And for the first time since he's been governor in the history of California being a state, more people have left the state than relocated to the state. And if you tie this into, of course, the census and what's going on there, they could be in trouble when it comes to the Electoral College and, votes. And the thing about this is this SAFE Act that we're looking at, you got the combination of the census being done and then the SAFE Act or SAVE Act coming in. And a big part of that is the voter ID. Now, anyone who's listened to the show at any length of time knows that voter fraud is a big thing with me. The fact that we don't require voter ID in most places is beyond my understanding. Nicki Minaj tweeted or posted somewhere saying when she kind of found out that it's not required, she's like, are you kidding me? And that's the normal reaction. I think for me here on the show and a lot of people who listen, we've talked about it so much. We know it's such an issue. We don't have that same reaction anymore. But the reaction that Nicki Minaj had about this is the one you should have. Like, I don't get it. That's so asinine. And even on CNN, I don't know who that guy is that does all those surveys. And he always gives the news, and sometimes it's not great news for CNN's management, if you will. But when you look at the polling on this, the people in favor of photo ID Among white people, it's 85%. Latino, 82%. Black, 76%. That is huge to have that many people agree on an issue in the favor here. So this is an 80-20 issue. And when you add, if the SAVE Act gets through and voter ID is required, and you've got the census where this is the thing, you want to remove, and we've got to purge these voter lists. And people who are not eligible to vote because A, they don't live in the district, B, they're not alive, or C, they're not citizens. They have to be removed from there. Now, that guy, Ed Clements, on a couple of weeks ago, we touched on that a little bit, how they'll purge him. But weeks before the election, thousands of people come back onto the voter rolls, but nobody's paying attention at that point. So when you get, Gavin, when you get down to the actual running for president, which clearly you're looking to do, no matter how many beautiful little puff pieces like this are written, it's not going to help you in the debate. Because they're not going to start off the debate saying, that was a great article in Vogue about you. And it was kind of weird and creepy, to tell you the truth. But here's the thing. This is not helping you, and it's backfiring. This looks like a soft-focused national rebrand for Gavin Newsom, right? Glossy profile, time for presidential positioning. And totally ignoring the dumpster fire that is California politically. And Newsbusters frames this as a campaign adjustment move, right? Did the campaign think this was a good idea? Did they go, oh, let's get this done? I mean, he's been around a long time. They try to build him, right? Didn't he say something about, he had such a rough childhood and growing up on Wonder Bread or something? Didn't his family, aren't they in tight with Getty? Didn't he borrow money when he was in his 20s to start a winery and stuff through Getty's family acquaintance? And to say things like embarrassing handsome, magic hour glow, immaculate. I don't think it's helping him. What say you? 508-871-7000. Puff piece on Gavin Newsom. I think it's going to backfire. It's not going to help at all when you go forward. It's not going to help you at all in a debate, because what's going to happen, and didn't he do a debate? He did a debate with Ron DeSantis, right? I think on Hannity or something. But it's going to come down, first of all, if Kamala comes up, right, whatever the primary is, it seems to me, I could be wrong, what say you, but it seems to me the Democrats are doing what they did with Kamala, anointing her after Biden was out. It seems like they are kind of saying, already decided that Gavin Newsom's going to be their candidate. Just seems that way to me. We'll see. So the chances are he's going to have to go against J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis again, or maybe even Marco Rubio. And I can't even imagine Gavin Newsom doing well in a debate with any of those three. Now, there could be, the Republicans could put forth someone else I'm not mentioning. I mean, it's a deep bench. There is a deep bench on the Republican side, but I don't think it's that deep on the Democratic side. And certainly the ones up there, like Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, man, they have a lot of baggage. Kamala, forget about it. But Gavin has all of the ills of California to hang around his neck like a noose. And I don't care how many puff pieces have been written about him. It's going to make no difference to J.D. Vance or Ron DeSantis or Marco Rubio on a debate stage. And what are the moderators going to do? Keep referencing puff pieces and what they had to say about him? No. They're going to want to talk about how fiscally inept California has run its business. This train to nowhere, multi-billion dollar train to nowhere, the Palisades fire, and the fact that basically all with a handful, I think 3 or 4 permits have been issued to actually build those houses. One of them was a spec. Billions of dollars in homelessness, and it's the worst it's ever been. I mean, and they're finally doing away with programs in California that had to do with buying alcohol. Right, tax dollars were buying alcohol for alcoholics. And they had the safe injection zones. All of that has to come up. Now, I know he's trying to rework his image a little bit, trying to move the train thing forward, trying to distance from some things, but they're going to be there, guys, when the time comes. When the time comes, they're going to be there. And speaking of hypocritical Democrats, Bernie Sanders campaign folks, did you catch this? He spent over $500,000, $550,000 last year, 2025, on private jet travel. And remember, he got called up by a reporter because him and AOC were doing that little jump around the oligarchy thing. James Carville said, stop saying that. Nobody even knows what the hell that means. And when he was called on, he said, no, you got to look here. You know, people like me, it sounded like John Kerrigan, right? People like me, we got to do this for us to be able to go around. Well, everyone else has to get in the line and board a plane and all the stuff that goes with it. So he's justifying this, you know, and he always stopped, right? He used to be the millionaires and billionaires have to pay their fair share. And he stopped all that millionaires and stuck to the billionaires because he became a multimillionaire. Millionaire several times over. So this is a real, let's talk about the rules of thee, not for me. It's almost too perfect for this. So he has to fill out, of course, the campaign finance stuff. And if you pull the Federal Election Commission filings, Bernie Sanders' campaign spent $550,000 in private jet travel. And again, most of it was for that fighting oligarchy swing he did with AOC. And I want to be fair, politicians travel. Schedules are brutal, security is real, and yes, private charter can be the most efficient way to hop from city to city. But while you're lecturing everybody about carbon footprint and paying a fair share, I'm not quite sure that sounds great or rings too well. Folks, we're going to take a third and final break here on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. Open, available. What say you? What do you want to talk about? 508-871-7000. Back 2 minutes and 10 seconds.
And here's some exciting news for the Blind and Beyond Radio Nation. Hi, this is Dave Hillebrand.
I'm Harsha Trivedi. You spoke, we listened.
And now the Blind and Beyond Show has content on YouTube. No, I'm not kidding. Starting Monday, February 16th at 7 p.m., you'll have a new way to listen to Blind and Beyond content with the Blind and Beyond Show on YouTube. You can still listen to Michael, Lynn, and the rest of the gang as you usually would. And now you can listen to Hershey and Dave as they talk to interesting people in the blindness community. It's the Blind and Beyond Show.
Did you know most chicken restaurants fry their food in inflammatory canola oil, the kind linked to chronic inflammation and health issues? At New Chicken, we're rewriting the fast food playbook. Located at 318 Park Avenue in Worcester, Mass., we serve up delicious comfort food with a conscience. Our chicken is humanely raised and free from hormones and antibiotics. Then fried in clean, heart-smart avocado oil packed with nutrients and flavor. And our fries, forget the greasy stuff. Ours are cooked in traditional, savory beef tallow. It's how fries used to taste before processed oils took over. No factory oils, no synthetic shortcuts, just real, honest food made for people who care about what goes in their bodies. At New Chicken, your health doesn't get sidelined for convenience. You get both, flavor you crave and ingredients that matter. Stop by today and taste the difference. New Chicken, where fast food finally grows up.
WCRN Radio is thrilled to bring back a legendary voice, and now you can help tell the stories. Paul Harvey captivated millions with his unique style and unmistakable voice. By sponsoring the rest of the story, your brand can become a part of this rich tradition, and it links your business with a program that people love and trust. So don't miss this unique opportunity to grow your business while becoming part of something truly special. For sponsorship details, just go to WCRNradio.com.
All right, folks, welcome back here to fourth and final segment on the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, 508-871-7000. Lines open and available, whatever you'd like to talk about. Going into the break, I was bringing up the fact that the filings for campaign stuff, $550,000 on private jet travel from Bernie Sanders. I'd like to know AOC's filings, too, because they were often traveling together on that fighting oligarchy swing that they did. But here's the problem. Sanders isn't just a politician who travels. He's built this entire brand around scolding Americans about carbon, consumption, sacrifice, selling the idea that climate change is this existential threat and that we need to radically change how we live. So when the guy who lectures us about emissions is the guy climbing into private jets on the donor's dime, and it's not tax money, he's pulling it out of the campaign funds. So this is people who have written checks and donated to his campaign. They should have a problem with this. So it's on the donor's dime. But Americans don't hear logistics. They hear hypocrisy here. They hear elite entitlement. They hear, I get the luxury, you get the rules. And when he's pressed, the answer was basically, that's the only way to get around for a guy like him and what he's got to do, because he thinks he's got to fight this. And again, there are a few terms, I have a problem with the terms about, ICE, protecting you from ICE. But I also have a problem with the terms when they're talking about that. The only way to get around, and that rich people need to pay their fair share. Well, here's the thing. The wealthy people of this country pay the majority of the taxes. And the tax code is for everyone. So you don't get one tax code if you're Trump and a Republican or a conservative, and a different tax code if you're a Democrat or you're a liberal. We all operate on the same tax code. Trump pulled that out in the original debate going way back with Hillary Clinton when she tried to go after him for taxes and so forth. And what did he say to that? It makes me smart. And he's right. And he said, and I'm throwing back to this because it was brilliant and it stands today. And he said, if you don't like what I end up paying on taxes, then change the tax law. You were a senator. Your husband was a president. What did you do to change them? Nothing, because your same millionaire and billionaire friends who support you and the Democrats live by the same tax code. And they wouldn't be happy if you started changing the tax code. But that's the only thing you can do, is change the code. And the more you make, you do pay higher in taxes. So when Bernie Sanders or any of the people like AOC or say, pay your fair share, they are paying their fair share. And if they have deductions and so forth, that's because the law allows it. Again, I'm pretty confident. And I'm saying this because logic dictates it, not because I've seen Donald Trump's tax returns or anything, but I'm pretty confident, given the hostility shown to this man by those already in government and the left, that if his taxes weren't done properly, talking T's crossed, I's dotted, it would have come back over and over on the man. So I'm pretty confident, and I'm pretty confident he has a pretty good team of tax attorneys filing, because it's not just him, right? He's had to file his personal, but he's filing for $1 billion corporation. How many hundreds, if not thousands of properties? I'm pretty sure he's doing a good job in filing his taxes, and they're filed, I'm sure. So he's using the law the way it's meant to be used. But so is George Soros and the other billionaires and millionaires who support political parties and candidates. So when Bernie Sanders lectures us about that, I think the first question is, you put forth your tax return. Because these people who were crying, remember how many years did we listen to Donald Trump? We got to see his taxes. How come his taxes? Let's do his taxes. And then you got Nancy Pelosi worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Now, yes, Pauly P has been doing his thing. I get it. But Ilhan Omar went from one of the poorest members of Congress when she first went in, 18, I think, to $30 million in net worth today. Those are the tax returns that I'd like to see. Those are the tax returns that I'd like to see. Where are those? What are those? Because if you're claiming that millionaires and billionaires need to pay their fair share, first, put your taxes up first. Where did your net wealth come from, and what do you pay in taxes? Because if you're using deductions and amortization, then can't that apply to you? So when he says that's the only way to get around, well, my friends, that's exactly the point. The people pushing the hardest restrictions always seem to have the easiest exemptions. So here's the question for the audience here today. If climate crisis is truly existential, why do the loudest voices demand sacrifice keep living like the very oligarchs they claim to oppose? If private jets are necessary, why should regular people accept higher cost and fewer options under aggressive climate policies? But aren't the climate policies kind of fading away at this point? They're proven to be, the models are proven to be untruthful, not reliable. But it was a good scam while you guys ran it. I'll give you that. You had a good run with it. But people have wised up to it. All right. 508-871-7000. What say you? So, by the way, Texas, we talked about judges a little while ago. Another judge has been indicted and arrested. So let me put it in plain English. A courtroom is not a personal fiefdom, guys. And it's these judges that keep proving over and over again that they really do think that they are in judgment of others in the law, but the law doesn't always apply to them. So we have this situation, if these allegations turn out to be true, a sitting judge ordered a defense attorney, this is in Texas, who's an officer of the court, to be put in handcuffs and confined to the jury box after they had a dispute over procedure. Think about that. That's the lawyer's little job. Literally, their job is to argue the procedure and evidence and admissibility. That's their job. So that's not firm courtroom management. That's the state using the force against the defense table here. And we all understand that judges have tools, right? They have warnings, sanctions, contempt even, removal from the courtroom. All things that can be done and are done on a daily basis. But when you cross into physical restraint of an officer of the court, you're not keeping order here. You're potentially committing a crime under the color of your office. That's why a grand jury did return indictments for unlawful restraint and official oppression, and why the local DA's office stepped aside and a special prosecutor took over. So the grand jury indicted Rosie Spedlin Gonzalez. She's a judge in Bexar County. And this was just a few days ago, on the 29th. And this all stems from a December 17th incident where a defense attorney, Elizabeth Russell, was ordered handcuffed in a courtroom. She ordered the attorney handcuffed and confined to the jury box. And it was during a probation-related hearing after a procedural dispute. So this judge decides because you dispute, which is your job, ordered handcuffed, and where's the liability of the bailiff who actually slapped the cuffs on this person? Bailiff's going to actually follow a judge's order, and they're not attorneys, so they might not even understand whether this is legal or not. But the indictment alleges that she ordered the attorney handcuffed. And then you've got that unlawful restraint by a judicial officer. Second-degree felony in Texas, by the way. And then official oppression. That's a misdemeanor. In the Bexar County DA's office recused, which was probably a smart thing to do. Because if she's not removed from the bench, you got to deal with this judge on a regular basis, right? Special prosecutor was assigned. Judicial oversight. See, the Texas State Commission on Judicial Conduct had not taken action as of the initial indictment. So the special prosecutor pulled the trigger on this. And then she was released. And there's two reports. The articles I read on this, one has her, the judge was released on personal recognizance, but another says she was released after posting a $40,000 bond. But the core issue here, a judge's authority versus a lawyer's right to advocate without being physically restrained. How would your right to a fair and speedy trial be effective if judges started handcuffing your defense lawyer? With all these issues we've had with judges as of late, Shelley Joseph, the other one in Wisconsin for aiding and abetting and helping an illegal alien with removal orders and ICE waiting to escape out the back of the courtroom, things of that nature. And then we had the judge was at Rhode Island a couple months ago, got arrested. There were two, the one that was drunk at the bar, the other one that was urinating in a bush when a police officer happened to come by. You start to wonder, because I grew up always thinking judges were just behaved separately, right? Differently than the rest of us, but apparently they don't. And it's sad to hear all this. But folks, we're going to wrap up the Thursday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Follow me at Joe Mangi Show on my social media. Don't forget it becomes a podcast. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify, whatever the case may be. Tune in to the God Brothers tomorrow. But that does it for me, Joe, out.